November 1st policy meeting, and welcome back, Paul. I forgot when you were coming back, so it was good to see you.
We made it back just in time to hand out Halloween candy.
Oh,
Awesome.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
always a good time.
Yeah, what a night for kids.
Yep, and the kids were good.
It was
last
so
night. The guys
nice.
on the radio were saying how polite the kids were trick or treating.
Oh,
I would say the same.
They were just glad they weren't freezing.
Right?
They say that a lot of them are probably eating candy at school today. It's one of those challenging days. That's why they would take them outside.
Yeah,
I-
run around for one.
There was a school district that we know of down in St. Peter that they had staff development day
Oh,
instead of the kids.
Oh, on November first?
oh, I
Yesterday,
actually saw that on
Oh,
Facebook.
yesterday. I think they'd want it November
I
first.
know, I don't know, yeah, anyways.
4 p.m.
Yeah.
Whatever. My husband had the groups of kids, the teenagers that would come, they had to either do a dance or a song.
Cute.
And none of them did not do it. They, like, I bet 10 groups of kids, our neighbors up the street were like, you guys are having so much fun down at the end of your driveway. That was very funny.
That is awesome though.
Yeah, great kids, great kids. So policy meeting November 1st, and we have policy 722 public data and data subject requests. And this is a first reading of it. And we do have some updates on it that are highlighted in yellow. Just wanna kind of point out that this was reviewed 7/21/20, and there were some tweaks then, and that we have Adele here with us for explanations and her questions. And then this was also updated through the NSBA and MASBA as well.
Yeah, so the yellow are the additions that, after talking to Brett, we thought should be added for clarification, especially using the form. But there's a lot of updates from MSBA, including a whole page of definitions. All of those definitions are new, except for the inspection one. There was an addition of a data compliance officer, which basically is, will be Simone, but it designates someone that if someone submitted a data request and they were having trouble getting it back, or felt that they were having trouble getting their information back in a timely manner, they could go to the data compliance officer with their concerns. A lot of the other updates are just related to people requesting their own data or their child's data. And then there was only one update in the cost, which basically says that if a parent of a special education student requests their student's data, it would be free of charge.
And that would be Roman numeral 8A what?
That would be,
That's
Yeah.
not highlighted in yellow, is it?
yes, it would be 8C.
Yeah, I don't see that.
So all of the funding, the costs are in under 8.
Yeah, and 8C would be the new section, which talks about what you can charge if someone requests their own data or their student's data.
So that's not highlighted, but that's the whole section is being.
Yeah, just C under costs
Oh,
is new. And then sections 6 and 7 are brand new as well.
And then you'll be putting in the payment. I just see there's a few notes in there about how.
Yeah, the payment would be cash or
Not
check.
everything, that's.
not, but not.
Okay, so you just need to clear that.
Yep.
One of them is.
2 bits. Yeah. We need some data practices.
I wonder if for the purposes of, before sending it out, Patty, we could have the old version just to, would that be helpful?
Yeah,
Some kind of hearing
and
that
a lot of the
from board members.
new stuff that you were mentioning isn't highlighted in here, so that would be helpful too, just to have it, what's new.
So yeah, I'll do it however you would like me to do it. This is, the way it is right now is the MSBA model policy.
Right,
But so you want highlighted in the future things that aren't necessarily MSBA but were added? Because it's a lot different than what our current one was on our website. So the only thing that's different from the MSBA model policy are those 2 lines that are highlighted. Everything else in this one are from the MSBA.
But if it's changes from our existing policy, it's nice to see those highlighted
So
too.
you'd
Like
like
it's
to
something
see the
addition,
difference
like the
between-
cross section is all new, right?
Okay.
And just to say that that's new.
or if it's easier just to, make sure the old policy is with it.
Attached. Okay.
Yeah, maybe
I'll do
not
that.
cross-section it, but
Okay.
just
Yeah.
so that board
So you
members
can
can have a
compare.
comparison.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
especially since there's so much
If they're so
new,
vastly
that would be
different,
way
the
less
red
work
line
for
would
you.
take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We don't
And
wanna
our-
make more work for you, but just more so that there's a
Do you want
comparison.
me to attach it right now? Because I can
Yeah,
download
yeah,
it from
that
our
would be
website
great.
and then attach it to our document.
Would that be helpful?
So, and then also then, and I know you will, just so we're clear, section 8C needs to either be, when it's new, are you gonna highlight it in yellow as well, or, because right now you have a couple highlights in there, but section 8C, which is which is new, how can we identify that as a new add-in
Blue if possible, or something like that. I mean, the other document had red
as a stripe?
red strikes out, the red line sections, and then yellow sections with what's changed.
Well, I could do yellow with what we have added as a district, that's different. If we want to do the changes from our current to the MSBA, I know Adele had a good suggestion, the type could be in green. Would that be helpful to differentiate?
As long as we're consistent,
Yeah, yeah.
as long as we develop
Yeah.
a consistent understanding of what is what.
So green is what's being added compared to
Okay, yeah,
previous
yeah,
policies.
that worked, that worked.
And red is what's was struck out by MSBA.
Thank you.
But then the yellow is,
Additions that, Brett and I suggested would be added for clarification. So I don't have those yellow marked, but, it's just basically, clarifying what, remote access is and saying you need to use the data request form and not just send an email.
I guess, just one kind of little background piece too, I know that our school board association at our, delegate assembly, which is held in December last year, this was a topic of districts all over, is the data request process.
Back up, just a
So
quick
now-
second to
Uh-huh.
share. Just, Simone, I think that the process is still the same in terms of, didn't things used to come to Jackie and then Jackie to
Yeah, you mean as
former
far as,
CFO Erickson? I mean, so it's still coming through your department.
yes, that's correct.
And so someone would get the form from your secretary then, and or it would go to that person, right? Then you have-
Are you speaking to the policy
Well, the process that people request
data
the
request?
data request.
I get what you're saying. Yes, they come to our office and then Brett follows up with it. And yes, that is correct. It's still going through the same process.
It just adds Simone as a person they can reach out to if they feel they're not getting their data request
And we,
in a timely manner.
and we make every attempt to do that in a timely manner. So the costs have not changed, that's correct. And we are using an online system to verify some data. required to retrieve emails and stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
So green is our MSP. MSC editions, yellow would be something added.
Did you have a question?
Oh, we were just clarifying the color coding. That yellow is something that we've added beyond MSBA, and the green is what the MSBA recommended.
Yellow's not
Yeah,
on this,
yeah.
so it's just on the computer.
It's just on the
computer.
But the green is what's different from our current policy.
Is the data practices form new, or have we had it?
We have had a data practices form, and the only thing that's different is the bottom that says for office use. And that's just gonna allow Brett to, more easily, track the progress of the data request without having to go back through emails.
And it does say on the request form that inspection is free, but there is a charge for copies. So if you look in the box up there,
It also clarifies that you don't have to have your name, but you do have to have some form of contact so that we can contact you with questions or clarifications.
That makes sense, because you wouldn't want to make a bunch of copies that didn't fit their request.
That form isn't part of this.
the form was on our site.
Yeah.
It
But
was
it's
on
not-
our agenda.
They are, the current policies I added, both of them are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So any other questions? And again, this is for the first reading. Thank you, Adele. I know you did a lot of work on this and just really appreciate the background information that you provided.
Thank you. I think along those lines, it's important to note that this doesn't unduly restrict data practices. It's keeping the spirit of the law, the spirit of the policy.
Okay, the second policy then, that is again a first reading is policy 534, school meal policy. And again, this was adopted the last time, well, it was a new policy, but the last time it was adopted was August 22, 2017. And who would like to speak towards this?
I can speak to this.
Okay, great, thank you, Simone.
You're welcome. Our Sheila Oak, our food service coordinator, manager, she was audited last year by MDE. And they reviewed our school meals policy. And they suggested we use this format. And the only sentence that needed really to be in there is under purpose. And the policy of the school district is to provide meals to students in a respectful manner and to maintain the dignity of students by prohibiting lunch shaming or otherwise ostracizing the student. We, for the most part, have that language in there, but they wanted it updated into this format. And then we added with Sheila Oak's recommendations, you'll see in yellow. Do you have that highlighted in yellow?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Payment of meals. A, payment for lunch is expected at the time the meal is served. Parents have 3 options to put money in their child's lunch account. And you can read that. And then B, families may apply for free reduced meal benefits anytime during the school year. Meal applications are distributed to all families in the district prior to the student's first day of classes. In addition, applications are available on the school district website or available to be mailed via USPS if requested. So they can apply anytime during the year, but the free and reduced that benefit application, we ask that anything that's been done before December 15th, we can use towards our count. I mean, October 1 is when we send in our enrollment counts, but we can go through December 15th for this benefit form.
So I'm just curious, either why we don't also have them available at the school in the administrative office, or are they?
I believe they
I
are.
would think they are.
I believe they are because I know they get handed out in their packets.
So we wanna
We want to make sure
add
that
that or not?
prior,
Or does that add complications?
I can ask.
Are you talking about the form that?
The forms, yeah.
That gets sent home.
Well,
I
because
know it gets in their packets that get mailed home and they're on our website.
Well,
I don't know if we need to add that, but
Yeah.
it sounds like that's more of a,
Execution.
yeah.
Internal
the-
control maybe.
Internal process, yeah.
I believe they are because I've heard that the principals are being very proactive and
Yeah.
they're standing at the front door handing them out type of thing and.
We actually talked about it, I think it was the meeting you were gone last month, but about different ways that it has been distributed. I know I was just at Western Park, they have it in a list of information, but
yeah, a lot of times the principals might have one teacher or a staff member that
That's correct.
kind of, takes it on themselves to chase down and get as many students signed up as possible.
The good news
It's
is
changed
we,
somewhat over time, but
right, and the good news is we have through December 15th to take in those forms. But we'll take them anytime during the year. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I had a question about the online payments, just along that line as far as like internal control and procedures. You know, how do we make sure, just wanna make sure parents know how to go about doing that. I think we're still using PayPams. I've had a couple parents reach out to me and ask, you know, who are new to the district, how do I do that? And I tell them it's paypams.com and it's paypams, that's what it's called. Yeah, and they have to, there's also a small fee associated with that too.
Right.
For a transaction charge, like $1.50 or $2 or something like that. So just wanna make sure
That they're aware of, yeah.
that families are aware of how to do the online payments, since it is a website, separate from ours. Is it on our website, that sort of thing?
Right.
Just
It
wondering.
is on our website, but I remember where I came from, we had to have a family account. So who sends them the account number? How do they get that?
It's been a while since I registered,
Yeah,
I've had
you have
mine
to
for a long
register.
time, but, you know, I think it was just an email, address, password kind of thing, and then you needed the school code. And I think you could even look it up by putting in our district,
Okay,
for a district code.
I will ask and get back to you on that.
Sounds good.
so can they do
then Patty, just for, numbering, under number 3, being, A, or B is crossed out, the C should become B. And then the same with under 4, unpaid meal charges. The lettering, this needs to be updated. Did you have another question, Member Sample?
Yeah, thank you. Back to the payment options, is it possible, or have we looked at debit credit cards or credit cards, and are people able to pay online or
They
in
are,
person with
and-
debit cards or credit cards?
I just did a site visit with the food service department and they are getting most of their payments, she said, through the debit card payment or credit card payment
Is that
online.
through the PayPams, or can parents, I'm just thinking from like an equity lens, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, for someone who maybe isn't able to, you know, parent A could put on like $200-300 and only get $150 charge. Or parent B might not be able to put on that much, and it's more month to month. So then over time, they're getting charged more charges. Just a
Good question.
question.
I will
Yep, all questions,
All questions,
So-
yeah.
just questions.
Good point.
Chair Lafferty,
Yes.
you highlighted number 3, the changes there on the lettering, are the same as you've done before, did you mention that too?
I did,
Yeah,
3 and
okay.
4.
I think it's right.
I like the language, and some of the areas that the language was taken out. So I appreciate that the language changes.
What happens when, I'm looking at under 2D, you know, a student with an outstanding meal charge debt will be allowed to purchase the meal if the student pays for the meal when it is received. I mean, are we making sure if a student doesn't have payment, that they're getting a meal?
Yes, all children are served.
Yeah.
We can't hold that against them.
Later
What's
on.
It says that in C.
Yeah,
See,
it
that's
does,
okay.
it does say if the meal's been put on their tray, you can't
They
take
get
it.
that.
Okay, I just
So
read the notes.
it's kind of conflicting.
And the purpose, the third sentence in the purpose states that as,
Yeah.
as well.
Sheila is doing a really nice job with food service. I've heard many positives from her team as well, especially given that they're quite often short-staffed, but there seems to be a really positive collective team spirit. And I think her desire to have language reflected in the policies that was less punitive is kind of a testament to her character.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Simone,
This is a lot of work.
I did look on the food service section on the website. I should have done that before this, but is this policy right on that section of the website besides under our policy section?
You mean, will this replace it or in addition to?
No,
Sorry.
when we finalize this,
Yes.
will it be put in the tab that has the food service department on that?
Yes, I would say yes.
You know, it will be in our policies.
Under that tab, but
Yeah.
we should also have it under food
Yeah, I
service.
think
I
we
would
should.
agree, yes. And the way we're redoing the website, I know there's going to be like a families tab, so they don't have to go searching for stuff. So they, like, what would a family need?
Oh, that's great.
Yes, you can.
It's a public meeting, sir.
Yeah.
Still in policy. Good job.
Okay, any other questions? So this will have 2 readings. I just have one other question. I just noticed where it says communication of policy number C, the second sentence has a date on there, July 1st, 2021. Should that date be changed, or is there a reason for that particular date?
The school district will ensure that any third-party provider. Yeah, I wonder if that should be.
I'm wondering if maybe we adopted did we adopt something around that point?
It
or-
was revised in 2021, I see.
I don't see the revision on the back, but
I think it could be removed.
The whole sentence, do
No,
or
I think
just July
just the
1,
date, because
in 2022?
I think it just, I think going forward, the date was maybe just a moment in time and everything going forward after. So now it's after after, so I think you would just remove the date.
September.
After July 1, 2021 just gets removed. And then it's original or modified contract, period, that, you know, that adheres.
Okay.
So take off after July 1st, 2021.
This is probably just referencing when we,
Started doing it.
yeah, contracted with a third party. Okay, so that can be
We
removed,
we can remove that.
That's just the
so
president.
just direct Patty then. Any other questions?
I guess.
I always appreciated when, there's, under 3, it does talk about low balances. I always appreciated when the school would, I'd get a little notice, a little payment of.
We're all
Okay.
together.
So, and I was just gonna ask a question on that.
I appreciate it.
So, and how does that notice usually go out to families? Is it an email, a phone call?
I don't know
I
now.
know that there are emails, but I'm not sure if there's also an auto call.
We have an administrator, a school building administrator, who's just joined us.
Just joined us.
Do
Welcome.
you remember how that happened?
I'm sorry, I wasn't even paying attention to the question.
Hey, you walked in the room.
In the emails. So when a student's lunch and meal account runs low, how does the building and or the family get notified? How does the building notify that family? I would assume we're not putting it on the student.
No.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little different.
Right.
Being in the treatment sites, so that the vast majority of our food service is provided by the facilities, so the students aren't paid. They don't have to pay anything for it. The only site that I have out of all my sites that have lunch is Rockbridge. That's the only one that's provided by the district. And at this point in time, I haven't had kids that are typically low on that. And a lot of times when the kids are low, then those other agencies kind of help and pick up the tab for that.
You
How have we done it at
just
other
get back to us on that, yeah.
What's that?
I'm gonna
You
check
just-
with you.
Yeah.
Check for you.
I was just curious, how has it done at other sites in the past? That you're
I'm trying to remember how it was at
Is it
Lincoln
very
Park.
building to building?
Yeah, I don't think it varies that much. I want to say it's coming from food services, and I know that there were times when students' balances got too high, and the food service then would kind of say, you've reached your max. You're not going to be provided a hot meal, but they would be provided that big lunch during that point in time until that balance was lower, but I'm not sure on how that notification process
It sounds
works.
like that policy's changed too.
Yep,
where
exactly.
They
So-
get
I
the
just
standard.
sent Sheila a text message, I'll get an answer for you, yeah.
Sorry I couldn't help.
No, you were not. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate that we have under 5, the unpaid meal charges, number E, which really clarifies also that any unpaid doesn't limit a student's participation in anything. So it lays that out clearly.
Right.
Which is actually part of state statute, I guess.
I really like that there's language throughout, about not demeaning or stigmatizing.
That was very, very much impressed upon Sheila by the auditor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Regarding this policy
This
or?
policy, yes, yes. And those were the two policies we had, and we do not have any other policies for second reading or regulations. Did you have any other comments, Superintendent Magus?
Yes, just thinking about our previous conversations where we talked about having kind of a on month and off month for looking at a bulk of policies. I was looking at some different policies, you know, some, like thinking about like what would be the chunk that we would take on next month. And part of it led me with some challenges. So like if I look under the 300 series for administration, we only have 3 100 series for administration. So I was thinking, oh, that would be an easy thing to take on in a short month as far as that we can take on. But then when I look at the 1000 series, as we go into the thousands for the kind of the bonus ones that we haven't changed yet, there is the corresponding unit is the 2000 series. There's a fairly large segment of policies that need to be considered. So thinking about, as we're taking this work on, how to best go through the new policies, but then also getting rid of the old 1000 series is kind of like, it's clunky, right? Like how do we best do that? I do know we have that document that lays out the policy references. Eddie, you've worked with that one quite a bit, or you know the MSBA, MSA policy reference guide. But if I look at like the 300 policies, you know, thinking about like which ones are in the thousands that we want to consider removing, right? And
Well, under the 300,
they have a lot of MSBA policies that we don't have,
Yeah.
but we have a lot of so I guess what I'm saying is it's a lot to chew on, to think about how do we pick a segment and how do we do justice to it where we're not just going through the new policies and looking at the old policies, but switching our system from the 1000 series to the 100 series gets tough. So wondering if we want to, I mean, maybe we revise our estimate of how, I still think we can get it done quarterly, or I'm sorry, in a 4-year segment as per our board plan. But I'm wondering if we should take on a segment of policies with their corresponding, in the hundreds with their corresponding thousands, as like a 2-month piece. Like do we do 2 months of kind of the catch-up work and then go to new policies, or do we think we can accomplish it all in 1 month? Was my just kind of wondering. Maybe that could be more for policy, for our policy agenda setting, but just wondering if we had wanted to have a discussion on that.
And just kind of a reminder, Paul wasn't here last time, but that again, we did get confirmed with NSBA, if we're just changing the numbers, that can be considered review with one process.
So we could say we're moving to the 300 series, review the 300 series, and get rid of the I think it's 2000s.
Yeah, in the 300 series, the numbers are 2000. Oh, well, there's some 4,000 as well.
the idea of whatever we can do to kind of
Right.
move that forward and get it, so we're done with the 1000s and
Right.
get it. So I liked your idea of looking at list A from your 1000 or 2000, list B, 300, and see, if they're similar.
Like the 2000 series under administration has a ton of policies, and it gets far more detailed than the MSBA policies. But are we better off just moving to the MSBA policies and not having those, or are there potentially things within our old policies that we still want to continue?
Well, I think that's where we always have to have the window to look at the old policies, past boards put them there for a reason, so.
Right.
It seems like it would work too, and you would know more than me, Chair Crawford, because you've done this a lot longer, but if we looked at like a 300 policy, and then which of our other policies are referenced, or could be pulled from that one, and that way, we're looking at the ones, the old policies that new one touches on, to see if we can hopefully consolidate.
Sure. So like if we looked at the 300 series, we have a list of the ones that that are affected by and can delete them. So maybe if we first go through a round where we're going through the new MSBA policies and we're deleting the policies that are identified, and then on our second round we're seeing like what's left. Just wondering if there's a cleaner way to do it.
But we do need to do a vote on deleting and adding. If we're deleting past policies, that has to be,
Right.
there has to be a vote process.
I'm just, right, I guess what I'm saying is it's gonna be more complex and in some ways more time consuming to do whole chunks, but I think that we can, it's the old saying of how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Start on it.
Do you feel, Patty, from your perspective, that doing chunks in each, the numbers makes it kind of easier to keep track of? Because you are the keeper of the policies.
I don't know if it necessarily helps to keep track of it, because it is like Superintendent Vega said, there's a lot of policies in the 300 that we don't even have, so like we can adopt all those policies. And then there's just a few in the 2000 that are reflected with those. So we're gonna have a chunk of 2000 that we're not gonna know what to do with, and we'll either have to renumber them or decide if we want to delete them. And then when you get into some of the other series, you get more meatier policies, so it's kind of hard, and you have like a lot more, like when you're looking for the ones that are more student-based in the 500 series, I think that, and even the 400 is pretty long. It's a lot of policies to bring like in one chunk, and when you have some that are really meatier policies, I think it makes it difficult to keep everything in.
Maybe this is more of a conversation for our agenda setting meeting, but if there's input, I'm just trying to think of even determining where to take the first bite of the apple.
Isn't the number one driver of what we're doing here, things that need to get done and need to be changed because we're getting things passed down to us from MSGA, correct? I mean, so that's the number one driver of the policies that we're knocking off on a monthly basis at present. And so is it just how we're gonna add to that? To review a handful at a time that we wanna add to that? Or if there's something that's coming down from MSBA and there's other policies that are around that number or connected to it, we address those at the same time.
That's a good point. So we could, rather than try and do all the policies of a series, we could look at which where are the MSBA mandatory policies that we don't yet have in place? And which corresponding 1,000 series are affected by it that we might want to delete at the same time? So we could go a first pass that way, and then we start looking at which policies does MSBA have that we don't have that we want to consider and start adding there.
It just seems like we're kind of gonna be asked to deal with things that are coming down from MSBA that we really need to address.
Well, but they're not, it's not every month that they're
Right.
sending something down. I mean, there's kind of some cycles of it, right?
Right.
Yeah, you know, August is when they, you know, tend to give us, changes that came out of the legislative process. And so, you know, we can always expect that time of the year to get kind of a list of changes. I guess chew on that one and get back, and when we have our pre-meeting, we can kind of talk about it, because again, you know, the work does fall on you as staff, and so we also want it to be manageable, for you as staff.
Right.
And you know, as we've talked at different times again in this meeting, we know certain policies are gonna take more time because of getting input and things like that from more people, so we really, I think, wanna move forward in a way that you think is also realistic,
Sure.
because it is on your time.
And that's part of where I was coming from, is thinking like, to take on a whole section every other month would be, we probably want to increase our meeting time if we're gonna do that. It's probably gonna be too much to take on and say that we're gonna update a whole section and get rid of the corresponding 1,000 series at the same time. We'll have to chunk it as we can. Hello. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I do.
Yes, no,
I heard back from Sheila.
thank you.
And I asked, how do we communicate a local balance to the families? She said, we used to use the school messenger. Haven't gotten around to turning that back on. If the district still uses it, I can turn it back on tomorrow if Nate's around. We send that out weekly. Lunch was free for 2 years, and we haven't needed it.
That's a good point.
So I asked, is that an email reminder to families? And she said they choose in campus now how they want that message, email, text, or call. Okay, and they can,
Yes, that makes sense.
yes,
I think I get an email from MSBA parents.
okay. I'm learning more every day. I will communicate that with her.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions then, again, these will come up in our first reading. And we'll review them one more time, next month, and then, go through the second reading if there's no changes in December. Thank you. We have a couple minutes before we start our 4:30 meeting, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.